that may come up against us as couples that we have to get rectified. Because if we don't, it can turn into long-term issues that can cause separation eventually. It could cause divorce eventually. So those things that are hidden, I'm talking about, they may be hidden from me. They may be hidden from pastor. They may be hidden from other people. But you guys as couples, they're not hidden from you because you know what's going on in your married life. You know what's happening. I may not know unless you divulge that to me. And I can kind of talk to you about that. Now, let's go a little deeper. Hidden vows. Sometimes in relationships, the man or the woman may be going through a battle that the other mate don't know nothing about. Listen to me now. You can sometimes have battles, internal battles, within yourself that your mate has no idea of what's going on. We've all seen on TV, we've all seen on the news where someone goes into a place and shoot up a place, goes into a place and just wreak havoc on that place and on the people that's inside that place. And then a lot of times you hear somebody that knows the perpetrator, that knows the person that did it. A lot of times you hear them say, I didn't see that one coming. I did not know that he was even or she was even capable of that. Because hidden battles, things that's going on internally, y'all heard the phrase that pressure does what? Bust the pipe. Eventually, if we do not get help, if there's not a release, if there's not someone you can talk to a person of God that can give you godly counsel, eventually that frustration, the madness, all that, it has to go somewhere and it has to be enacted through some measure or some means. So, when I talk about hidden, what is it in your individual life that you have already relegated to yourself and said, you know what? I ain't gonna bother my wife with this. I got this. I'm gonna handle this. Or I don't need to mention this to my husband. It's gonna be all right. I'm gonna handle this. And that may very well be true. But what about in instances where that hidden battle that you're struggling with, it gets worse? What happens during that time when it gets worse? Whenever you try to hide something, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort to do that. You ever been in a situation where you had something inside of you so long and you was able to release it? You was able to talk to someone. You was able to converse with someone, and you said, you know what? Whew, I'm glad I got that off of my shoulder. Because there's a release in that. So when it is hidden, when there are hidden battles going on in marriage, whether it's individual battles with the husband, whether it's individual battles with the wife, or whether it's battle between Monica and myself, we just at odds. It's just battles in the marriage. There is a solution to those things or to those battles. Whether they are separate and only Miss Nikki know about it, only Tony knows about it, there's still a solution. You just got to want it. So let's talk about choosing your battles wisely. Choosing your battles wisely. And please know that every battle is not worth fighting. Hear me. Every battle is not worth fighting. When you choose your battles wisely, you have to determine if whatever is going on in my marriage, whatever is happening that's causing, I don't want to wake up the baby. I'm telling you, calm it down. I don't want to wake up the baby. Hey, and whatever's going on in my marriage, worry about it? Could I just let whatever that thing is go and not worry about it, and we have peace in the marriage? That's what I mean when I say choosing or choose your battles wisely. Because everything that comes up in your marriage, all of it is not what, I'm going to tell you what the devil does. I'm going to tell you what the devil does. The devil, the enemy, will take something very small, as leaving the cap off of the toothpaste tube, and he will exploit that thing and make it sound like you just done tore your white car or something. You done just, I mean, the baby needs changing, hubby, all day you ain't changing the baby. I mean, that's the way he make it seem, when all it was, the cap on the toothpaste tube, you left it off. Now, is that a battle we want to fight about? But believe me, people do. People do. People fight. And see, that's what the enemy wants you to do. He will magnify something so simple as that and make it look like it is monumental. So we have to choose wisely. Every battle is not worth fighting. You, in a minute, we're going to get through my 6 points here on how do you determine if it's worth it or not. How do you determine if it's worth the battle or worth the conversation? Or is it worth us getting together and discuss this thing? Or do we just simply ignore it? So we have here, how to choose your battles in marriage. Somebody out loud, read point number 1 for me. Point number 1.
Think before you react, speak.
Think before you react. That's huge right there. That's huge. Think before you react. Somebody tell me in your own words, what do I mean when I say a person might be hot-headed? What does hot-headed mean? In your own words, anybody?
Irrational.
Huh?
Irrational.
Irrational. What else? Hot-headed. You say that's hot. You just a hot-headed. What, look at that. what does that mean? Come on, I look like you want to say something.
Conclusion jump.
Huh?
Person jump to conclusions.
Okay, a person that jumps to conclusions. Irrational. Anybody else?
Hot-headed.
Hot-headed, meaning that they just fly off the handle, so to speak.
Short-tempered.
Short-tempered. There you go. Anybody else? Looking for a reason to pop off. I had an opportunity, and all of those answers are correct. It says here, hot-headed. Hot-headed. A person who gets angry easily. A person who gets angry easily. Many times we may react without thinking. We may perceive something from our mate that is offensive to us, and without thinking, we react or respond. How do you choose the battles in your marriage? It's a choice. It is a choice. If the enemy has his way, he's going to make sure you choose to fight on every opportunity possible. That's what he does. He's good at his job. That's his job. He has a master's, a PhD, and all of that in trying to get you at odds with each other. But how you deal with that, or if you deal with that, will determine the outcome. Think before you react and speak. Everybody in here, hubby done made the wife mad at one point. Somebody probably got mad coming now, I don't know. But at some point, hubby done made wife mad about something, and vice versa. Wife done made hubby mad about something. But number 1 says you got to think before you react. Notice I said at the beginning, what does hot-head mean? I said that for a reason. What does hothead mean? A hothead person will not do number one. Number one says to, there you go, has to think before you react and before you speak. Something happens, a person that's easily angered, time it happens, that person, I'm talking to somebody up in here, my spirit is just raging right now. A person that is easily angered will, in the words of my friend Mike, will pop off and not think at all before doing that. And that's what the enemy wants. Because we all feel like when we feel pressured, or we feel like someone, whether it's our mate, our children, or anybody out there, if we feel like they are trying to corner us, so to speak, we come on out the corner. We come out the corner. When we talk about thinking before you react or speak, check this out. And guys, listen, I know this works. I know this works, what I'm saying. Sometimes you have to walk away. If you have to go for a drive, if you have to go for a walk, before you respond, before you react. Okay. I'm about to run around the earth. I'll be right there. I'm about to go. I'm about to go run around the block. I'm about to go and work out a little while. Because a lot of times, in the heat of anger, we will spout off and say some things that we really don't mean. But once we have released that into the atmosphere, you can really damage your husband. You can really damage your wife. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I told y'all it was going to be good. God was like, you got to put it out there. Once it's out there, it's out there. And we have all, including me, and if you haven't, I need y'all to teach me how you got away with it and didn't do it. We have all probably said something to our mates that later on we come back, I'm sorry. I should not have said it. Because it was probably in the heat of the moment. Probably was in the heat of the moment. So get away. Do whatever you do. If you like to work out, if you like to run, whatever you like to drive, whatever. Get away for a moment. Gather your thoughts. Get your senses, your wits about yourself. And then come together. If that is an issue that needs discussion. So that's number one. Think before you react. Very important. Think before you react. Somebody read number 2. I'm still talking about how to choose your battles in a marriage. Somebody read number 2.
Evaluate how much the issue is bothering you. Can it turn into a long-term problem?
Okay. It says to evaluate how much the issue is bothering you. In a lot of instances, not in all, but in a lot of instances, women, the female, in a lot of instances is more of an emotional creature than the male. And we must know that. I said in a lot of instances, not in all, but in a lot of instances. So we must make sure that men, we keep that in mind. So when it says to evaluate how much the issue is bothering you, what is really bothering the wife, sometimes the man may look at it as a different perspective or look at it in a different perspective. But because she has evaluated and has determined that it is a bother to her, men, we have to listen. And vice versa. It works both ways. There could be things that is going on, an issue that the man has identified that just really gets him every time she do that. Boy, I tell you, every time she do that, every time she say that really. But to her, it may not be no big deal. But because he has evaluated and has determined within himself, that right there, whenever you do that, whenever you say that, you know, you got a little condescending tone, people whispering right now, you got somewhat of a condescending tone, you know, you got somewhat of a, but the mate may not see it that way, but that is your perception, so you have to listen to that. Let me read this right here. When you evaluate how much the issue is bothering you, this will indicate or determine if this is a let go hiccup. Y'all stay with me. Once you evaluate it, it's going to let you know if it's a let go hiccup or is it a let's discuss cough. A cough can be more serious or is more serious than a hiccup. You hiccup versus coughing. So this will indicate or determine if this is a, hey, let's let it go. It's just a hiccup in the road, little hiccup, let's just let it go. Or is this a let's discuss cough? What do I mean by this? Is the issue something that can cause resentment in the future? Or is it something that you will be over in a few hours? This is during the evaluation process. In the evaluation process, is this an issue that can cause resentment in the future, or is it something that you will be over in a few hours? The answer to this question will let you know if the issue warrants discussion. Once again, I go back to this. Every issue may not warrant any deep-seated discussion, but in the evaluation process, if the wife thinks that it does warrant that, or if the husband thinks that it does warrant that, discussion must take place, because it can run into a long-term problem. What is resentment? Anybody else, it ain't got to be with your mate. It could be with a friend that you know, or someone, an acquaintance of your past. Has anybody ever done something to you that really cut you to your core? Really, really bothered you? It ain't got to be your mate. Then it could be, I don't know. But I'm talking about it could be anybody. My point is, resentment is a serious, dangerous thing. When you are married and you are in resentment, you resent. That's what I'm talking about when I say long-term problems. Long-term. Something that's very minute today, if it's not handled properly, can grow into a long-term problem. But it starts right here in the evaluation of that thing. The evaluation of that thing. I've said to you all, and I love using myself as an example. I've said to you all, yeah, I've said on many occasions, I said, you know, between Monica and I, Monica, what I'm thinking right now, what is he finna say? Between Monica and I, Monica will go to sleep relatively early. I've said that to you all. I mean, 9:30. I'm surprised the phone ain't dropped, man. I'm surprised.
You have no idea.
See that? She will like to go to sleep relatively early. Whereas with me, I mean, 11 o'clock, 11:30, 12, 1, whatever. I'm good. Well, I have to be careful in that, because there once was up on a time where I was considering this thing to be, okay, this is going to be a long-term problem, because I'm feeling some kind of way. I'm feeling like that. Now, y'all laugh, but I'm serious. But I'm over it now, Pastor. I'm good now. But I'm feeling some kind of way, because I'm thinking that, hey, listen, the value that you have for me isn't good enough for you stay up there and eat 10:30? 10:30, yeah, 10:30. So I started feeling, and I'm laughing, but seriously, I started feeling some kind of way. So in the evaluation process, I'm like, is it really that serious?
Big picture.
Say again.
Big picture.
There you go. There you go. Is it really that serious? Not really. When you look at the whole scheme of things, because it could be a whole lot worse. A whole lot worse. Okay, she goes to sleep at 9:30. She goes to sleep at 10 o'clock. All right, I'm good with that now. But I really had to think about that because earlier on, what did I say earlier? Making a mountain out of a molehill. I mean, it's a small thing, but the enemy begins to talk to me, and I start thinking, this is monumental to me. It's big to me. So he begins to, the enemy begins to talk to me, and I start having issues with Monica, and now we going back and forth. And then when you really, really think about it, I look just as silly. I look just as crazy. I'm at odds because you done worked all day. You done cooked. You done dealt with Jay, man. You have done this. All you want to do is get some sleep, Pastor. And so when I evaluate that, I'm like, you know what?
You watching her sleep with the stank out here.
I wake up, he's sitting there looking at me.
And you knocked out sloppy.
Oh my God! Yeah. I'm gonna pause right here for now. Any comments? Anything y'all want to throw out there?